Hello, sixth grade. It is day number 13. I have no idea what the date should be at this point. But today is gross and net pay, and we are going to talk about some pay statements today. This pay statement that's on here is a lot. That's not a typical pay statement and what they look like. This is a military one, so there's a whole lot happening on here. Ours are not going to be that complicated. All right, so what we need to do, or what we're going to do today, is identify parts of a pay statement and explain the difference between net pay and gross pay. And really, it's going to be more of the following day that you're going to interpret the pay statement. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and take that off of there. Okay, so your pay statement is basically a part of a paycheck that's going to show how much a person made. It shows how much you've earned for that particular pay period, which we'll find out what that is. And it will also show you how much you've made for the entire year. So, question, we'll do an informal poll. Which number do you think is the bigger number? Do you think it's gross pay or do you think it's net pay? Do a raising of the hands if you think that gross pay is the bigger number. All right, put them down. Who thinks that net pay is the larger of the two numbers? All right, you're going to find out the answer really, really soon. Here you go. Here's Gusto. He explains it.
What's the difference between gross pay and net pay? We're going to help you figure it out. Gross pay and net pay are common payroll terms, so it's important to know the difference between the two. First, let's talk about gross pay. Gross pay is the amount of wages an employee earns before any taxes, deductions, or other amounts have been taken out of it. Net pay is the amount of money your employees get after taxes and deductions have been taken out. This is the amount of money they actually receive on payday. For an example, let's take a look at this pie chart. So, gross pay is kind of like this full pizza. Nothing's been taken away, it's the full amount. All right. Net pay is a lot like what's left over of this pizza. Now, some things have been taken out, like taxes and deductions, but what's left over is what they take home. Here you go. Have more small business questions?
We don't.
Ask Gusto. Subscribe to our...
Okay, so those of you that said that gross pay was the bigger number, you are correct. I would absolutely love to get my gross pay, but it's never going to happen. So, just as a reminder, gross pay is the amount of money that you made before any taxes and deductions have been taken from your paycheck, the bigger of the two. Net pay, maybe you think about your catching and what you actually get in your net, but it is the amount of money you're left with after taxes and deductions have been taken from your check. Oftentimes, a lot of people will call that the bring home pay because it's how much money you actually get. All right, so we can do some math, and really we're going to have to do this more so tomorrow or whatever day is next. So we have gross pay and we have net pay. And if you need to figure out like how much your deductions are, how much has been taken away, you're going to take the gross pay and subtract the net pay to find out the amount of deductions. Sometimes you might not have the total number of deductions, or I don't know, you just want to check the math, and that's what you can do. Sometimes to figure out what your net pay is, you can take the gross pay, subtract the deductions, and then you'll get the amount of the net pay. So there's just some math involved, and that will make more sense when we actually look at some pay statements. But first of all, when you're in math class, what does the word deduct mean? It means to subtract. So your pay statement, when you have deductions, it means to subtract the money. Okay? Things that you can have would be like taxes, healthcare, retirement, and other things, and I'm going to explain some of them pretty briefly, but some of them that you may have on a pay statement. Federal income tax, everyone has to have their federal income tax taken out. The employer, so mine is Shippensburg Area School District, is required to take that from my check. And it's dependent on whether you're married or single and whether you have children or no children. So for example, before I was married, more money was taken out of my check, I don't know, than when I got married. So the other thing, when there's children, you don't have as much taken from your check, so you have the money to like take care of those kids. So there's that. Estate tax is going to be used for your highways and state officials. Not every state has a state tax, so there's that. Your local taxes for your local roads, your maintenance, your township services, your EMS, so like fire department, your local taxes are used for that. If you're not sure what your local is, you should know that. In case of an emergency, they will ask you. So some of you are Southampton Township, Franklin County. Some of you are Southampton Township, Cumberland County. And then we have our Hopewell Township, which I believe is Cumberland County if you're a Newburgian, Newburger, whatever. I'm not really sure because I don't live there. I'm a Southampton Township, Cumberland County myself. Okay, then you have a Social Security tax, which is going to pay for retirement, disability, and survivorship benefits. So that means, like, you might hear about people talking about Social Security when they retire. My mom is retired. She's paid into Social Security for her whole life, so now she gets a check every month because she's retired. Some people who are unable to work, so they're disabled, they can get a Social Security check. And then survivorship would be like for a child whose parents are, maybe they've passed away, you can get the survivorship benefits if you take in that child so that you have money to pay for the child that you weren't really expecting to have. The Medicare tax is going to be for the healthcare and hospital insurance for those people who are retired and for those people who are disabled. So it's insurance, medical insurance. Now, some other things that you don't necessarily have to have. Healthcare would be your health insurance coverage. You might have to pay all of it. You might have to pay a portion of it. I have healthcare for me and my husband, so I have money taken straight out of my check, where he doesn't have any healthcare taken from his check because I'm the one that covers him. Retirement, this is usually optional. It's put into a retirement account for whenever you turn the magic age for that or have enough years of service. Sometimes it's called a 401k. You're going to see that on one of the pay statements. And then other things could be like uniforms, meals, union dues, charities. Really, there's all kinds of things. So your charitable contribution, you can have places like the American Red Cross, the Cancer Society, United Way, American Heart Association. You could have the Thon, the Penn State Thon, Boys and Girls Club. Seriously, there's so many. And that's just so it comes right off of your check and you can donate to something. The district no longer does that for us. We used to be able to donate, I want to say, to like the United Way back in the day, but... All right, so here is a sample of my paycheck. Over here on the left is what it looks like. Yes, I've blurred out all the numbers because, well, you don't need to know all of that. But it will say like how much I earned for this particular pay period, which for me is 2 weeks, and then how much I've earned for the whole year. Here are all of my deductions, which I made a lot bigger over here on the right, but I have 12 different things that come out of my pay. So my net pay, the amount of money that I actually get, is only 62% of my gross pay. So let's just do this and say if I made $1,000 in gross pay, I'm only getting $620. What if my check was $2,000? I'm getting $1,240. It is crazy, isn't it? So federal income tax, and I'm married. Medicare, that's for whenever I'm old, basically. Social Security, same thing. State of Pennsylvania, we have a Pennsylvania unemployment tax. So if I would lose my job for a reason, I could collect unemployment because I've paid into it. You have an earned income tax. This is my local tax. I have this LST Shippensburg Borough is my occupational privilege tax. They're like, oh, you're very lucky and you get to go to work, so let me take some money away from you. Seriously, it's $2 a pay. Yeah. This is a retirement account that actually, as a Pennsylvania state employee, I have to have it taken out. And then I have a second retirement account just because one day I want to be retired and have money. I have my union dues, I have my health care, and then I have something called a health savings account. So I have to, I don't have to, but I have the money to pay any health care deductibles. So there you go. Now, something that I mentioned is a pay period, which is the amount of time that you work, and they record, like the hours that you've worked or the days that you've been at work. You can be paid weekly. So like my husband is paid every Friday. Actually, no, he's paid every Wednesday. You could get paid bi-weekly, meaning every 2 weeks, which is what I have now. It's every other Friday I'm paid. There's monthly. You get paid one time per month, which is absolutely terrible. I had that before. And then you have what's called semi-monthly, which means you're paid twice per month. Sometimes it's the 1st and the 15th. Sometimes it's like the, 15th and the 30th, whatever. But you get 24 pays a year, where bi-weekly you would get 26 pays per year. So it just depends on the place. They can pick whatever they want to do. I prefer bi-weekly, but not everybody gets that. All right, so there's 10 questions on a Google form today. But first, your word of the day. And of course, you probably need to pause this. The word is purpose, and it is the reason for which something is done and created, or for which something exists. Done with that, I'm gonna show you what the gross and net pay is. As a reminder, you can always go back and open up your slides if you need to. What is gross pay? What is net pay? Which one of those is called bring home pay? And then you're going to have some things like, what are those, when the money's taken out, what are those things called? And then which is the different types of taxes? You might want to go open up the slides. When you've answered all 10 questions, you're going to hit submit, and then you are finished for the day. All right, and I think that's all I have for you today. I have really no idea. This might be the beginning of a week, and if it is, well, you'll find out. Like, this should be posted on your stream. Gross and net pay today, pay statements. Gonna do a review, savings accounts, and then you guys have no school on Friday, January 17th. Or Monday. You actually have no school on Monday as well. Monday, January 20th. So, there you go. Have a good day. Bye-bye.